Welcome to NHA Today, where we explore the path to lasting health and fulfillment through a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Each week, we bring you real conversations with doctors, health experts, and everyday individuals who've transformed their lives through food, mindset, and community. This is NHA Today, powered by the National Health Association.
Hello, welcome to NHA Today podcast. I'm Justin Williams.
And I'm Stephanie Williams.
And we are part of your virtual conference team for the 2026 NHA conference, as well as being NHA lifetime members. And who do we have today?
Today we're talking with Terri Chrisman. Terri is a board certified nutritionist, and she's also a member of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. We sat down with Terri to talk about her new book, Fabulous Health, which is a wonderful roadmap for those of you who are just embarking on your plant-based journey or who want to up your game in terms of health and longevity and whole food plant-based nutrition. So Terri gave us a great peek into, how she views this lifestyle and some of the great information she will be sharing in the book. We hope you look forward to hearing this conversation.
And before we begin, if you could please make sure that you share the podcast with a friend or like, subscribe, do all the things that really helps the show grow. And we really appreciate your help with that. So without further ado, here's our conversation with Terri. Terri Chrisman, welcome to NHA Today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so glad that you could be on with us.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Thanks for spending time chatting. So Terri, to get us started, why don't you tell us, well, first of all, it sounds as though you may have started your life somewhere else in the world and come to the US. So, talking to us maybe how you got here and then how you found whole food plant-based living, how you started on this journey.
So the America story is, I'm just follow my husband around the world. He is an international lawyer and he's been posted in various places around the world. One of my favorites being Dubai. That was really nice to live in Dubai, and Hong Kong. We spent 5 years in Hong Kong. That was gorgeous, and London and Australia and now the US. So that's how I got to America. But my plant-based journey was pretty long as well. I was vegetarian. I went vegetarian when I was 18, around Christmas time. So I was like 18 and a half. And I had no nutrition knowledge whatsoever. I was just struggling with my weight and I wanted to give up something that wasn't chocolate and cupcakes. So I thought, meat. Like, I don't want to kill the cows. I don't need meat. I'll just give up meat. So that was my very flawed but altruistic way of becoming vegetarian. And throughout the years, I kind of educated myself about animal agriculture. And then I started, flying that environmental flag. Cows are ruining the environment because they're chopping down the forest, and then the cows are doing the burps and the farts. And I'm not having anything to do with that. And I don't kill the cows, and I'm an angel, and it's fantastic. And I had a girlfriend who had been vegan for a long time, and she started sending me videos of slaughterhouses and torture, and they deeply affected me. And I called her up one day and I said, stop this. Like, this is ridiculous. So I'm a vegetarian. I've been vegetarian for 25 years. I'm not killing the cows. I'm not hurting the chickens. I'm not eating them. And I'm not hurting the piggies, etc. And she said, yeah, you are. And I said, what do you mean? And then she told me about the atrocities of the dairy industry and the fact that the picture on my egg carton of those chickens running around in the field with all the daisies and lots of space and them just having a great time and laying their eggs was just fake. And at the time I was doing my master's in nutrition, and the university was still following the guidelines. And the university I did it in was Australia. I was living in Hong Kong, but I was doing it online in Australia. And the guidelines in Australia were, and still are, meat-based, like eat meat for your protein and have eggs and have dairy, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, they're bringing together the opportunities for more plant-based foods in the guidelines, but they're not going to be released until 2026, just like the American ones are coming out soon. Fingers crossed. We don't know. And so I started doing some more science. So I started reading more science. And then I realized, yes, meat and dairy, well, certainly meat, but certainly dairy is bad for the cows, and eggs are bad for the chickens, and also bad for a human body. So I went vegan overnight on the 1st of November 2025. So, sorry, 2015. It's now 2025. So almost 10 years, 10 years, 1st of November. And so I haven't looked back, because once you know, and you can't unknow. So I was under the impression I was doing the right thing for myself and the environment and the animals, but I was misinformed. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are misinformed. And that's when I found the truth. For me, it's a moral shift. I can't undo that. And the same with the science. I have a history of heart disease in my family and obesity. And if the science says stay away from that stuff to get healthier, I'm staying away from that stuff to get healthier.
It's really hard for people to like understand why we do it.
Justin, I've met the point now where I can't understand people who don't do it. Like, I just can't comprehend that I have people in my life who are nice people, who I think are compassionate people, who, wouldn't run over a kitten. You know what I mean? Like, these are nice people, yet they're still going to be eating meat. And I don't comprehend the disconnect. And I know that that's been ingrained in us through culture and through advertising and just through the lives that we've all lived. I'm in my late 50s, and I've lived the life where it's normal and that it's expected to eat meat and fast food and whatnot. But I still find it really hard to comprehend how intelligent people don't see the light. But anyway, that's their business, not mine. I can only do the best what I think is for me. And then when people ask me for my opinion, I'm dang right going to give it to them. That's my book, right?
Oh, I love that so much.
It's true. It is hard to understand at this point when we have so many options that are available for lovely food to eat, and that isn't meat. It's kind of, and like you said, so much evidence that it's not necessary. It's really in dairy. It's really hard to understand at this point why people still see it as a need. It is, and it's hard not to proselytize as well, because we have all the information. That's why I think communities like the NHA are so important, because it's nice to go to a place where people get it. If we're surrounded by a lot of people often that aren't quite there yet, it's nice to have a place to go to be inspired and remember why we're doing what we're doing.
Absolutely. And I'm in groups, I'm in meetups with plant-based people. And when I go to those meetups, it's awesome, because everyone's my people. They're my tribe, and I feel really comfortable. And even though I have an outgoing personality and I'm a bit of an extrovert, I know some people are not like that, and that the stress of others questioning what they're doing, arguing with them about what they're eating, is sometimes it's just too much for people. So they just choose the path of least resistance, which is, I'm just going to keep, eating the meat or the dairy or whatever, because I can't handle the stress. And in the book, I do have a few tips and tricks to deal with your friends and family who want to give you a hard time. But as a spoiler alert, the number one thing is, you can't change somebody else's opinion. You can only change what you do. And if you truly believe that this lifestyle is going to benefit your health, and let's talk about health just for the minute, and not discounting the animal welfare, but let's just talk about health. If you really believe that the science speaks to you and that this way of living will help you get off meds, get rid of your diabetes, improve your heart disease, lower your blood pressure, all the things, then you've just got to stand your ground. And I have in the book some little tips of what to say to the people who give you a hard time that are not confrontational. So instead of somebody coming up to you and giving you a hard time about eating the turkey at Thanksgiving or whatever, instead of you rabbiting on about all the science about how bad turkey is for you because it's full of saturated fat and all the stress and pain the turkeys go through, which no one wants to hear, you say something like, oh no, look, my plate is full. I'm having a great time. Hey, I really like that shirt you're wearing. That's great. Where'd you get, you know what I mean? Like deflect. How was your holiday? Oh, I hear you got a new job. Oh, excuse me, there's my friend Stephanie. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to deal with that antagonistic behavior towards you. You just have to stand your ground and then let it wash over you. But don't try and argue with people because it only turns out bad. I think if Neil Barnard was at a dinner and somebody tried to serve him meat, he'd be able to do it in a very gracious way. But that's like level 10. Like he's up there, and every time he speaks, it's calm and beautiful. But some of us, we get all riled up, right? And we say things that maybe don't put us in the best light because we get maybe angry or whatever. But I say, be gracious, smile, deflect, move away.
Sure.
That can be a really hard thing to do too. It's like, and it's a good reminder because I know like when we were new to this lifestyle, it was kind of like, oh my God, this is the answer to so much stuff. Like we see people with chronic conditions and like they're just sitting there eating an ice cream and stuffing their face with whatever. And you just want to be like, oh my God, no, I can help you.
Oh, I know.
But they don't want to hear that. They just they're like, this is my family recipe stromboli or whatever they are eating. And that's all that they want at that time. And I think like it's really good to just try to lead by example and bring up just normal things. So that's a good point.
Yeah. And never underestimate the value of modeling. You don't have to say anything. Just pile your plate high with lots of yummy food and enjoy it. And then next time they see you, they'll say, oh my God, Justin, your skin looks gorgeous. Like, have you been working out? Like, what's going on? No, nothing, and then you're eating your yummy food that you brought with you. And, people are not dumb. They will see, they'll put two and two together. Yeah. But not if you try and help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. Have you heard of the Transtheoretical Model of Change?
Yeah.
Right. So just for viewers or listeners who don't know what that is, it's a psychological model that basically says in order to change, a human being has to know where they are in the process of change, and then they have to only take actions in that moment. So, for example, if somebody's sitting down to a steak dinner and Justin comes up to them and says, hey, that's going to give you a heart attack, they're in the first part of the model, which is they don't want to know. It's called pre-contemplation. They don't even know they got a problem, right? But if you're out to dinner and you're eating your lentil casserole and somebody says to you, oh, Justin, I notice you don't eat meat and I see that you're looking really healthy. Can you tell me a bit about that? So now they're in the contemplation stage. So now you can talk to them about it. Or maybe you've had this conversation last year and they come up to you at the party and they say, oh, Justin, I lost 10 pounds and I've been trying really hard to eat plant-based all the time, but sometimes I just can't. You know what I mean? I'm trying, but I just can't. Then they're in the doing phase, right? So they're in the action phase. They're trying it. They want to know more. Then you can go deeper, deeper, deeper. But if you try that deeper, deeper with Mr. Eating Steak at the restaurant, yeah, just beating your head against a brick wall. So it's identifying what stage of transition somebody is in and then making your conversation fit that stage. And it's really easy to do because if somebody comes at you and says, you need meat, to get muscles, you don't, that oh, really? I've got to go. See ya. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to have that conversation. There's no winning that conversation at all.
No.
Yeah, I think those are really great points. And I think that yeah, it's about kind of like you said, meeting people where they're at and taking the time to have a conversation and know them as a person. And then when the health and the food comes up, it comes up organically or it doesn't, right? But yeah, I think there's something else that I heard one of the plant-based doctors talk about in relation to, excuse me, being whole food plant-based, and also remembering that that's not all of your identity, that that's kind of what we do to have the vitality and the energy and the longevity to live the other parts of our purpose. So, you know, keeping those things in mind too, so that we can
Otherwise
connect
people
with
think you're
people
obsessive, right?
right, exactly, exactly.
And I
So
think some of us are a little bit obsessive.
yeah.
I'm, well, I like to say committed. So I've chosen this lifestyle, and it's a moral standpoint for me, as well as a health standpoint and a scientific standpoint. So if you call that obsessive because I stand up for myself, then so be it. But sometimes I get a little bit like when we go out, I go to plant-based meetups, right? That's what I don't really go out anywhere else to other things unless I'm with my husband, and then, you know, we go to the theater or the art show or whatever it is that we're going to. But if I'm meeting other people, it's always a plant-based meetup.
Sure. Yeah, same here. That's most often what we do as well.
And I think because, like you said, Stephanie, we feel comfortable in the presence of people who have the same values as us.
Yep, exactly. And so how did you go whole food plant-based right away when you started eating vegan, or how did you find like that kind of camper way of thinking?
Yeah, so I convinced myself I was whole food plant-based for a couple of years. While I was having, you know, bagels with plant-based cream cheese on them. Yeah, so and buying vegan cupcakes. Yeah, so I think the thing is, it's not an either or. I wish it was an either or, because then I could like focus, but it's kind of like a continuum. There's the vegan junk food junkie who drinks, you know, Coca-Cola, eats Oreos and eats fries. And I'm sure nobody actually eats like that, but that's the example of the extreme. And then there's the raw food, you know, whole food plant-based person who won't put anything over 50 degrees Celsius or something. And that's another extreme. And I try to find a happy medium, but the happy medium didn't work for me because I genetically and metabolically, whatever you want to call it, I see food, it puts weight on me. Like I put on weight really easy. I'm not one of these people that can eat excess calories and get away with it. I just can't. My metabolism says, yum, cupcake, stick that on your butt, right? So, and not only that, stick it on your butt and I'll raise your blood pressure. And while I'm at it, I'm going to raise your cholesterol, even though it's plant-based. So I have to be really careful about those things. And it took me a few years to realize that it was the eating out in restaurants and the occasional vegan donut and, you know, the cream cheese, the vegan cream cheese, that was keeping me from being at optimal health. And then I started studying with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and more science than and also COVID. And I put on some weight during COVID because, hey, we could order in anything, which we did. And I got chunkus malunkus. So I decided that this is no good for me. And I've since been as much whole food plant-based as I can be. Look, I'm not going to lie, I've put on a couple of kilos. So it's about time to tighten it up a bit, you know, and stop going out for dinner. Even I'm ordering the no oil, I'm ordering, you know, I'm not eating the chips. Yeah, but it all adds up, right? So it's just a case of knowing where my body is happiest and healthiest and eating that way. And if I could get away with eating vegan cupcakes and vegan donuts, I would. But they're
I
not
love
healthy
that.
for you people. Don't eat them.
I think that's such a good point. The whole like listening to your body and feeding it the things that make it feel good. And most of us, if we were honest with ourselves, the cleaner we eat, the better we feel, whether it's people who choose to include some animal products in their diet or not. The cleaner that we eat, the better we feel. And so I think
That's right. And a
really
lot of the processed foods, they're made on purpose to taste exceptional and they're addictive. But the aftermath is that you don't feel good after eating them. So it's like, illicit drugs or whatever. Cocaine is awesome until the next day when it's not. And the same with, and I'll go back to vegan donuts, which are fried in oil. All that sugar, all that oil, that crispy, doughy white flour. The second it's on your tongue, it's amazing. But 5 minutes later, you're going, oh, that was horrible. Why did I do that? So you really, and look, I didn't learn this overnight. It took years. Have you ever seen that Simpsons episode where Lisa Simpson does a scientific experiment and she calls it, "Is my brother stupider than a hamster?" Have you? It's my favorite Simpsons episode. So what she does is she puts a cupcake on the top of the refrigerator with an electric current running through it. So every time Bart reaches up to get the cupcake, he gets shocked. And then she notes how many times he does it. Like he does it like 3 times. And then she does it with a hamster. The hamster only does it once, right? So I think I'm a little bit like that, like Bart Simpson, right? I'll go back. I'll forget that the cupcake made me feel sick. And, 3 months later, I'll be like, oh, I haven't had a cupcake for 3 months. I might have one. And then I'll be like, oh, you idiot. Don't remember.
Right.
Bart Simpson. You got to find that episode. It's so funny.
That is funny.
I do say we need to watch more Simpsons around here. But
it is true. So you study with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. Is that when you became a health coach?
Yes and no. No. So I was a wellness coordinator in an international baccalaureate college in Hong Kong for 5 years before I got my master's in nutrition. I had an undergrad in sport and exercise science, and I was dealing with minors who were between the ages of 16 and 18 years old. And they were coming to me for health and fitness advice and fitness training and weightlifting and, cardio classes and all that kind of stuff. But then they started asking me for nutrition advice. Well, number one, they're minors, so you have to be really careful about what you say to them. And number two, I didn't have a nutrition degree. I had a sport and exercise science degree with a nutrition component, which was this big. And so I went back to university and got my nutrition master's in 2018. And then I was in Dubai for a couple of years and they wouldn't let me use my qualification. I won't go into why, but they just wouldn't. So then when we moved to the US, I wasn't also allowed to work because that's the law. And it took 2 years for me to get my green card. So I started getting all the machinations of coaching in together to get it happening in America while I was waiting for my green card. And that came through in 2021. And then I started coaching. And then I said, oh, I need more. So that's when I went to the ACLM because I wanted to make sure that the coaching that I was giving people was up-to-date scientific information. And even though I just got my master's in 2018, which is not that long ago, they're still teaching, the meat and 3 veg and, so I had to up the grades a little bit and just upgrade and be much better for my clientele. So really, I only started coaching when I became legal in this country, which is 2021.
Okay.
Mm.
Wow, that's a long journey.
Yeah. But I did coaching before, like fitness coaching and all that kind of stuff. I did since 2007. Yeah.
So you're born to be a teacher in some capacity. It
Love
seems like it's
teaching.
part of your makeup.
Yeah, I love, oh, look, you can tell I can't shut up. So I like talking. I like teaching. I like putting light bulbs in people's brains and them going, oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. And my main focus at the moment is professional public speaking. So, getting on stages, and instead of, when you coach people, you coach one person, or maybe you do a group coaching session or something with 3 or 4 people or 10 people or whatever. When you're on stage, you can have 5,000 people in front of you, or even 500, or even 50, whatever. And if 1 or 2 or 3 of those people goes, oh, this is interesting, I might find out more about that. That's golden, right? And you can do it in so much less time.
Such a good point. And it is, I agree. It's an amazing feeling to see people light up and be like, oh, that just changed me in some way, or changed my perspective. It's
Yeah,
really
the
cool
sad
to see.
the sad thing is, Stephanie, that you say the things that you and I talk about, eat a whole food plant-based diet to reverse and prevent diseases like diabetes, heart disease, Crohn's disease, cancer, blah, blah, blah. And people are like, what?
Yeah.
And, and I'm, yeah. And that's still, I still think, why do people not know this? Why is it not normal? Like, why is this just not common knowledge?
Yeah.
And it's not. And so I think my aim, and hopefully your aim with this podcast, is to get people to realize that this is a possibility. Just like you said, Justin, that, who knew that one thing could kind of fix, prevent, reverse, whatever, tons of things. It's like the one-stop shop. And so the more people we can get to hear the message, the more people will take action on it. And it won't be just from me standing on a stage saying, hey, you got to eat more vegetables, because hello, has everybody's grandmother's been saying that to them since they were born. But it'll be me standing on a stage. It'll be somebody watching your podcast. It'll be somebody reading Neil Barnard's book. You know what I mean? Like, all the things will converge, and all of a sudden somebody will go, oh, this is the real deal. Like, this is not just some crazy lady from Australia standing on stage trying to sell a book. This is like serious science, and maybe this will help me, because people are desperate for help, right? They go to their doctor. The doctor says, and this happened to a friend of mine and it broke my heart. So he's overweight, he's got diabetes, his kidneys are failing. The doctor says, I'm going to give you more drugs. I was furious. So I called him up and I said, please, can I tell you something? And see, I didn't know where he was in the Transtheoretical Model of Change. But I said, please, can you just let me tell you some facts? Because I don't think your doctor's telling you the facts. And I sent him the books, and the Mastering Diabetes cookbook, and all the things, sent them all to him. This is before I wrote my book. And he's in Australia, so it's in kilos, 18 kilos, so that's 40 pounds. And he's, his medication, he's still on meds and stuff, and he's still got diabetes, his kidneys in better condition and stuff, but he wasn't being told the news. And that broke my heart, because I love him. He's a friend of mine. I've known him since he was 11. And I want doctors to wake up and start reading the science. Go to the ACLM conference, go to the NHA conference, go to the International Conference of Nutrition and Medicine with Dr. Barnard. Go to all the conferences and listen and learn, so that when you get back to your patients, you can say, hey, let's look at some options. Not just here's some more pills. How about here's some more pills, but you know what? You probably won't need these pills, or as many of them, if we start, reducing some weight, or we start, getting some exercise, or getting better sleep, or whatever it is. And My aim is for doctors to really, really start to pay attention, and then it's going to be mainstream, right?
Okay. I like to tell people too, like, it's obviously we're just in this whole world of sick care when it comes to United States medicine, perhaps around the world too. But people are just so used to going to the doctor, saying, "I want the pills, help me with the stuff," but like we're seeing massive costs increase. We're seeing people without insurance. So I like to tell people, like, listen, this is just a simple change to your diet and you'll see results. Like, will it fix everything? Perhaps not. It's still listen to your doctor, obviously. But if you make that simple change, you might be actually saving money in the long run because you're not on a $300 medication every month, you know?
And people don't know how sick they are until they get better.
No, that's true.
Because the human body is an amazing machine that will take so much torture, self-torture. It'll take so much, what's the word? I've forgotten the word. But and then it won't, right? So everything, you can have high blood pressure for a long time until you have a stroke. And I shouldn't laugh because that's terrible. But same that happened to my dad. So my dad was 51 when he died of a heart attack. And he had high blood pressure. And I don't know if he had high cholesterol. I'm assuming he did because I was a kid and I paid no attention to his medications and whatnot. But he didn't know that he was at great risk. Nobody told him that he was at risk. His doctor certainly didn't tell him. And nobody gave him option B, right? So now that we have 35 years of solid evidence that you can prevent and reverse heart disease, just one of those non-communicable diseases, with a whole food, plant-based diet, exercise, and nice sleep and all the biz, then now there's really no excuse for doctors not to give that information. But it breaks my heart when people are still ignorant and naive to it. And I mean ignorant in the nicest way, i.e. nobody's ever told them, right? So you can't change if you don't know that there are options.
There's a lot of wisdom in that statement. And so is that what led you to write the book Fabulous Health, because you wanted to make information accessible for people?
Yes, and I wanted to give them the science in a way that they could understand it, so that they didn't have to read volumes and volumes of, NIH and PubMed research studies, which are really interesting if you're that kind of person. But I know that, 99 out of 100 people are not that kind of person. So I wanted to give people the proof. So I'm telling you, if you eat whole food, plant-based diet, you will be at less risk of getting a heart attack like your dad. How come? How do you know that? Well, because of these studies that Dr. Dean Ornish did in the 90s and the studies that Dr. Esselstyn did in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And these studies, they're small studies. They're not like thousands of people, but then other people replicated them. Then the EPIC study, and then all these, the Adventist Health Study, and all these studies started replicating, and then you started getting, thousands, if not millions of people's data all pointing to the same thing. And people just don't know it exists. You and I know it exists because we're interested. Most people walk around their lives, they're not interested in getting a nutrition degree. They're not interested in joining the NHA because it's not on their, it's not on their radar. But I wanted to help people who thought that their only avenue was stents and more medications and, injectables and all the things. And I wanted to say to them, look, you can do this. And just exactly what you said, Justin, it may not be the panacea. It may not be the golden chalice. It may not cure all your ills, but it'll put you on the best foot forward. And then you go from there, right? And I'll be quite open here. It's not in my book, but I've since I've been doing lots and lots of podcasts, I've become a little bit less scared of saying it. I have genetic heart disease and I have to take medication. But my whole thought process is, if I didn't eat this way, if I didn't spend my whole life exercising, I'm over 51, right? I would probably be dead like my dad. So the options are vitality and life or sickness and death. Which one do you want? Right? It's that simple for people. And so many people don't see the sickness and death until it's too late. Like my dad, he didn't see it at all, didn't even know it.
Right, right. And I think, you raise a good point that we're doing the best we can with the genetics that we're given. And especially if we have something that we know genetically we're predisposed to, why wouldn't we do all things possible to mitigate, the risks associated with that, or the risk of it expressing itself or whatever. So I think it's good that you share that's part of your story, because I think there's probably a lot of people in the same boat. And it goes back to the kind of spectrum thing that you talked about, right? That it's not an either or. It's not you take medicine or you eat whole food plant-based. Sometimes it's got to be both, depending on what you have going on. And it's important that we make room for all of the nuances too, per person.
Yeah, and not to be ashamed of it. Like, I was kind of ashamed of it. I didn't put that I was on medication in the book because I thought it would invalidate the stuff that I was telling people to do. Because the last thing I want people to say is, oh, here she is telling us to eat a whole food plant-based diet, and here she is, she's on cholesterol medication. So, what's the deal? Well, the deal is that if I wasn't on a plant-based diet, I most likely would be dead, right? Because that's what happened to my dad. When I was vegetarian, I was on blood pressure medication. I couldn't maintain healthy blood pressure eating dairy. As soon as I went off dairy, I did it in conjunction with my doctor, not by myself. Never go off medication by yourself. We weaned off the blood pressure medication, and I haven't been on blood pressure medication for 10 years. And now, because I've been doing this lifestyle for such a long time, what used to happen is that I would take my blood pressure at home. And by the way, I suggest everybody takes their blood pressure at home. Buy a cuff, take it at home, just check it whenever, a couple of weeks or whatever, just to check to see how it's going. And I would take my blood pressure at home and it was perfect. And I'd go to the doctor and it'd be 150 over 95. And I'd be like, what's going on here? And this happened for years. And the doctor would be like, oh, I think I'm going to have to put you on blood pressure medication. I'd get out my phone. I'd say, no, look, I've been taking my blood pressure at home and it's normal. It's this, your blood pressure goes up when you're at the doctor because there's this like internal stress, right? And I didn't think it did, but it did. Last time, 2 times I've been to the doctor. So maybe over a period of 6 months, blood pressure absolutely normal in the chair. So that proves to me that the lifestyle works in the long term, right? And I've maintained this low blood pressure for such a long time that now when I go to the doctor, it's normal. And the first time it was normal, I thought it was a mistake. Because I was so used to the blood pressure, the nurse saying, oh, your blood pressure's high, and I have to go, oh, no, it's not, blah, blah, blah. And it's because the lifestyle works, and sometimes it takes your body a little bit of time to catch up. So people say, oh, I went vegan for like 3 months and it didn't work. Well, dude, do it for 3 years and then do it for 30 years and see if it works.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point. Because what do they say? You walk, 10 miles into the woods, you have to walk 10 miles to get back out of the woods. So yeah, we all want a quick fix. That's the world that we live in now. But yeah, we have to have patience for sure.
And the thing is, stuff is happening inside your body that you don't even see. And most people will focus on the scale because it's easy, right? I get on the scale today, I'm 200 pounds. I get on the scale after being plant-based for a month and I'm 201 pounds. It's not working, right? But you know what? Things are happening whether you see them or not. So awesome things are happening. You're repopulating your gut microbiota, with all the healthy fiber that you're eating from the plants. And you're not filling your body with pesticides, hopefully, if you're eating organic, or maybe you're washing your veggies or whatever. But things like medications, veterinary medications, and cancer cells from animals, and pus from milk, and stress hormones from poor little chickens. Like, you're not filling yourself with that stuff, and artificial colors and flavors and whatever, and all that packaged garbage. Magic things are happening inside your body. Your body is cleaning up years and years and years of crap to make you a better person. And I'm sorry that that little piece of plastic on the ground that you're standing on is not telling you the whole story, but it's just not. And people give up because they instantly can't fit into a smaller pair of jeans. And I say to people, do it for 3 months at the very, very minimum, but you have to promise that you go to the doctor and get all your bloods done on day 0. Then 3 months, then you go back to the doctor and get all your bloods done on, day 96 or whatever 3 months is. And then see the difference in parameters. And you'll find that most people will have great things happen, like their HbA1c will drop. And for those people who don't know what that is a measure of your average glucose over the last 12 weeks, and it's a measure of diabetes status. And if your HbA1c is high, over 7, you've got diabetes, and if it's low, like 5.5, you're awesome. So your blood pressure may drop, or not, because you're at the doctor's surgery, so don't stress about that. Your cholesterol may drop, your triglycerides may drop, your C-reactive protein, which is a measure of inflammation, may drop. Like, all these things may happen, and you don't know those things because your scale doesn't tell you that. So I always say to people, at the very, very least, 12 weeks, preferably 6 months, but if you can't wait, 12 weeks is fine as well.
Awesome. I think, and one of the other things that I like about your book, in addition to the nutrition piece, is that you focus on all the pillars of lifestyle medicine. And I think that's something that makes your book really unique for people starting out. And I think for me and my health journey, that's been a huge part, is like, it starts with the food, but I have to incorporate all of those other pillars as well in order to feel truly my best.
Absolutely. Look, it's no good being whole food plant-based, going out night clubbing, not getting any sleep, and snorting cocaine. It's just not good for you. Like, it's you can't stand on your healthy, with your flag in the ground, I'm on the healthy journey, while you're doing stuff like that. It's just not going to work. So the 6 pillars, they didn't come from me, and I maybe didn't mention them properly in the book, but I absolutely give kudos to the American College of Lifestyle Medicine for those 6 pillars. And they are the plant-based diet, they're getting enough physical exercise or physical activity, not doing risky substances like alcohol and drugs and smoking, getting enough sleep, getting some stress reduction, and having a connection to others, not being lonely, not doing everything on your own. And those 6 pillars, they make the whole person. And that's what Dr. Ornish has been doing in all his studies since way back in 1990, when he did his very, very first cardio study, where he tested to see whether or not he could open up the lumen of people's arteries of their heart, the diameter of them. Oh, look, I'll show you something. This is the diameter. This is an artery that's all clogged up with goop, right? And then this is an artery that's clean. It's got no goop in it. So he took people whose arteries were like this. Well, maybe not that, because that's like having a heart attack. Maybe like this. I've always wanted to put these on TV. But there's not very much room for the, the blood to go. And he gave them the diet and the exercise and the stress reduction and all that to make the arteries like this, because people have heart attacks because they're stressed, not just because they're eating burgers all day. So it's the whole deal, and I'm so grateful for people like him to not be so what we call reductionist. And that's what scientific studies generally are, reductionist. We have this one problem, we're going to give you this one pill and see what it does, right? He's like, bugger that, I'm going to do the whole shebang. I'm going to tell people, we're going to put you on an exercise program. We're going to give you good food. We're going to do counseling. We're going to do stress reduction. We're going to make sure you stop smoking and all the things, therapy. We're going to hang out in a group. We're going to make friends and then see what the human body does, because we're the whole thing. We're not just food. We're not just stress. We're not just, what we do for exercise. So I'm really grateful for him for being the pioneer. I'm so glad that, pretty much every conference he gets named like, man of the year or something. So, just for paving the way for all of us just to be on his coattails and say, hey, you can do this, and you are a whole body, and let's look at everything. Diet, of course, it's the most important, but all the other things together will exponentially move you towards health, which is this way on your screen. Yeah.
One of the other things I really like about your book is how you have quizzes after you give the information, so people can kind of check what they remember. And you also, leave space for journaling so that people can kind of process what they're learning in addition to just taking in the information. Talk about why you decided to include those things.
Oh, because I'm a nerd. No, actually, that's the way I learn. By repetition, by doing quizzes. If as I say, I was at university in 2018. I didn't go back to university. My first undergrad degree, I was in my 40s. And when I did my master's, I was 50. So I learn by reading, then doing, and then reflecting. And it's with all those three things that you can really get the information in your head. I would have never passed university if I just read the textbook and then did the exam. Like, I wouldn't remember that. How am I going to remember? You just can't remember all that stuff. And even though my book is written for the layperson who, either hasn't gone to university or doesn't want to go to university or doesn't want to read a textbook, they just want to read a book that's going to help them. Still a lot of information. And if you asked me to quote something in the book right now, I probably couldn't do it, because we retain a fraction of what we learn. And so the idea for me was, okay, I'm going to give people something that's tangible, that they can relate to their own life. So today I feel is one of the journal prompts. How do you feel today? Well, you can write, well, I feel really frustrated because I tried really hard to get home and have a salad, and my car broke down and I was starving and I had to go and get a burger. Fine. That's fine. Write it down, because when you write it down, you're releasing it from yourself. And instead of being, I'm so peeved because I really wanted to do good today and it just didn't work out for me, by writing it down, you're like, it's gone. All right, tomorrow's another day. And it's very nice of you to mention that too, Stephanie, because I am writing another book, and it's probably going to be this thick, but it's just the workbook, not just the 2 or 3 pages per chapter. There's going to be like 20 pages per chapter of questions that relate to the individual. So I can't even tell you off the top of my head. So think about 5 things in your pantry that you could probably do without. Why could you do without them? What are the ingredients in those things in the pantry that you think are probably bad for your health? And what do you think you could swap those things for? Now, I don't have room in my book to put all that stuff in, but I do in this workbook. So I am working on that, and hopefully that's going to be a compendium to the book very, very shortly. And it's also really good for the people who bought the Kindle or will get the audiobook, which is almost there, because they don't have anything to write on. And a lot of people who are trying to prevent and reverse heart disease, mature adults over 40, I'm going to say over 40. I know there's people who are under 40, and bless them, because I think it's awesome that they're trying to clean up their diet early. But a lot of the people are people over 40, maybe in their 50s or 60s, and they got to the point where their health is just not working for them right now, and they want to be the person they were in their 30s, but they're just not. And these people my people, we like to write things down. You know, we like something tangible. We like a book that we can hold, which is there, and we like to write things down. So that's why I'm doing a extra workbook for people to get in there and do it.
Such a good idea, because I think one of the things that I wasn't expecting when we first went whole food plant-based, because I was well over 300 pounds, and I wasn't ready to deal with like the emotional part, the psychological part, and it just was so important to address that, because I didn't realize how much of like my whole thing, my problem with food, was psychological, and it's just important to bring that, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. And congratulations too. That is an awesome, awesome thing to achieve. And I agree with you. I have had food demons in my head since I was born. And, you know, have you ever seen that Sylvester and Tweety Bird cartoon? See, this is how old I am, Sylvester and Tweety Bird. And there's little Sylvester on his shoulder, and he's a little devil going, you know, kill the Tweety Bird. And the other little Sylvester's like a little angel, and he's like, no, don't kill the Tweety Bird. He's your friend. Well, that's me. Eat the cake. No, don't eat the cake. You know what I mean? Like, these creatures have been in my head since I was born. And and I argue with them all the time. And luckily, the healthy me is a little bit more overwhelming than the unhealthy me. But if I get stressed, man, I'm straight in the cupboard. And I understand how emotion is attached to eating. And yes, in this book, it's more practical, right? So I'm saying, go and buy the healthy food and have the healthy food in your house. And then when you're hungry, you'll only eat healthy food and kick all the unhealthy food out of your house. Well, it's very easy for me to say that because I don't know you and I don't know your emotional attachment to those Oreos. And you know what I mean? So I try to give people practical tips on what they can do, but the emotional thing, it's another animal, and I feel for people because I feel it too, and I know Justin, you know, the same deal. That's why these medications, the GLP-1 medications are so popular with people because apparently, I don't know, but apparently they quieten the food noise. They kick out the bad Sylvester, you know, and people don't feel the emotional pull to food. And look, we make GLP-1s in our tummy anyway, and I'm getting off on another tangent. So when you start, just for people who maybe are thinking about going down that route of medication, start eating whole plant foods first and then see what happens emotionally. See that maybe you repopulate your gut bacteria and maybe then you're producing more of these GLP-1 hormones and you don't feel like you have to run to the donut shop when you get upset. But I do understand that it's an old habit. It's a way of being. It's the normal for people who are overweight, that emotional pull of food. And look, if I said to you, Justin, just shut up and eat a bowl of broccoli if you're hungry, you'd just be like, no, you don't understand. Like, sometimes a bowl of broccoli will not cut it. But the more you eat healthy food, the more your body says, hey, give me that bowl of broccoli. I've been known, well, pretty much every time I go out to dinner, I would like a side of broccoli, no butter, no oil, no salt, just steam it. Every time I go out to dinner, I don't care what kind of restaurant it is, just give me the broccoli. Because I know that if I'm having, let's say it's an Italian restaurant, and I'm having spaghetti or something, it's going to be tomatoes and onions and white pasta, which is not good for me, upsets my tummy. And then, hello, that's not enough, right? So give me the things that I need. So I don't know where I went with that question. I told myself I wouldn't ramble. And look what's happening.
No, you're doing fabulous. I think that those are really great points. And I think the fact that you talk about, you know, stress relief and social connection, those are two of the big lack of connection and the crazy stressful world we live in right now are two of the things that really lead those demons to get louder and louder and to make us use food. So I think, you know, the idea of addressing the whole person helps a lot.
Big time.
Yeah. Plus, a lot of the time, eating is thoughtless. You
Yes.
don't say, I mean, yeah, I talked about the, Sylvester's on my shoulder, eat the donut, don't eat the donut, whatever. That's when there's thought. But sometimes there's zero thought. I had clients and I would say to them, how'd you go? Oh, I had eggs and bacon for breakfast again. Why did you do that? I don't know. It was just there. Well, did you stop and go, are the eggs and bacon going to be healthy for me? And what's another healthy option? Maybe I could have some oats. No. I just went to the fridge and I got the eggs and bacon out and I made breakfast. And that happens more than the conversation. So that's an interesting thing too, is that it's an automatic habit of past actions, and we need to break some of these patterns, and then we need to not have a vacuum. I had a lady say to me, well, if I take away the steak from my dinner, then I've just got peas and potatoes. That's not enough food. Well, of course it's not enough food. You have to put something in place of the steak.
Yeah.
And that's what people think. Well, if I take away the meat, if I take away the eggs, if I take away the dairy, what am I left with? And that I'm trying to tell people there is an abundance of other yummy, healthy things that you can eat. And it is, I think plant-based eating is a little bit of a different cooking style. You can't just, well, you can, but it's tasteless. You can't just throw a tofu on the grill and then have it with some chips, right? Because that's boring and not very tasty. So there needs to be, I think, a little bit of education, a little bit of learning about how to put flavors together and make sure you're getting, your protein, legumes and your whole grains and whatnot, and you're getting enough calories. Because particularly men, they need more calories than women because they're bigger. And if you take away the meat and just leave them with some, a tablespoon of peas and a little thing of half a cup of mashed potatoes, they're going to be hungry hippos, and they're not going to be happy. So there's like a little bit of education to work out how to incorporate foods into our diets that are satiating, filling. They make us feel warm and snuggly. Like nothing to me tastes better than mashed potatoes with peas and mushroom gravy. Like, oh, yummy, right? So you're eating that, and it's like they call it comfort food, but comfort food doesn't have to be deep fried in oil. It doesn't have to be, some poor little dead chicken's wings or whatever. So it's just a little bit of learning, but not too much learning.
Awesome.
Well, we're coming up on the end of our time together, I'm sad to say. But I just wanted to ask real quick, what's like a good go-to meal for you, like when time is tight?
My favorite meal is the 5-minute Asian noodle bowl. And I'm very specific about ingredients, but don't stress, because if you can't get these ingredients, I'm sure there's going to be subs somewhere. I buy these millet and brown rice noodles, like cup noodles. They're like square blocks of noodles, but they don't have any sauce or anything with them. And you throw that in a pot with some veggie stock. And I don't know if your listeners like Well Your World products or they've heard of them, but I love the Well Your World Asian veggie stock. It's salt-free. It's so flavorful. It's so delicious. So you stick some of that on your noodle with the boiling water. And then I go to Costco and I buy the stir-fried mixed vegetable blend. It comes in a bag. It's like this big, right? And it's got all the things in it. It's got all the things that I want in a stir fry, like your red pepper and your green beans and your water chestnuts and your carrots and your cauliflower. It's got all the yummies. And you just throw that in. And then I cheat and buy the little Trader Joe's pre-seasoned tofu. Chop that, a few little of those in, because it's like teriyaki tofu. It's got some flavor. And then a little bit of ginger, and just boil that for like 2 minutes, and then put some cilantro on top and maybe some tahini. And if I'm feeling really raunchy, maybe a couple of roasted peanuts without the salt. And then It's like the best easy 5-minute lunch ever. You get a beautiful broth, so you're ingesting lots of water. And when you drink water, you're filling up your tummy with pretty much no calories. Plus, it's warm. Then you get the noodles, and they're all squiggly. So there's that sensory kind of thing. You know, you want your food to be exciting, and they're squiggly noodles. You can slurp them up. The veggies are only in the water for like a minute and a half, so they're still crunchy and delicious. And frozen vegetables are a person's best friend because you don't have to cut them up. You just throw them in the pot, and then it's like no brainer. And then sometimes my husband, he likes things a bit saltier than me, so he might put a little bit of miso in or something like that. I tried not to do salt because of my, my blood pressure loves salt. But yeah, I have that for lunch probably 3 times a week. And it's so easy. And it's got to the point now where my husband and I just put 1 block in for 2 of us. Because just 1 little block was too much noodles for us. I said, let's double the veggies and half the noodles. And so we get, just by eating the same thing, we get less calories. And look, some people may want more calories, right? You might say, half a block of noodles is not enough for me. Well, that's fine. My husband's 150 pounds. He doesn't need any calories. He's tiny, so it's not like he needs extra calories. He probably needs less than I do because he doesn't exercise as much as I do. But if you want more noodles, eat more noodles. You want more tofu, put more tofu in. Who cares, right? So it doesn't, you want 2 blocks, put 2 blocks in. I know that, Dylan and Reeves have just released a brand new, I might give them a plug actually. They just released a brand new cookbook yesterday, and they've got a noodle dish in it. They use 4 blocks, right? I don't know who they're feeding, but you know what I mean? Like, just throw them all in, because you really can't overeat calories on a diet where you use whole plant foods with no added oil and no added salt. You can't do it. Sure, if I was to add peanut butter to the sauce, yeah, we're overeating calories, right? If I was to throw in 2 handfuls of peanuts, we're overeating calories. If I was to put sesame oil all over it, we're overeating calories. But if you don't do that, you can still have the yummy yummies and not worry about putting on extra weight or, getting inflammation from the oil and all the nasty things. So that's my favorite go-to, Insto-Dins.
Oh my gosh, it sounds so delicious.
Yeah, go make one right now.
New lunch guest, let us know.
Come over anytime. I keep those bags of veggies in my freezer all the time. I have them for breakfast too. I just throw them in the microwave, heat them up, and I've either made some cheese sauce from my book, the recipe I've got in the book, cheese sauce, which has got no cheese in it, of course. Or I'll put just, tomato passata, which is just canned tomatoes that have been blended. Just throw them on top of the veggies. That's pretty nice. Or I might put some California balsamic vinegar on top. And I'll have that for breakfast 3 or 4 times a week. And look, if any of your watchers or listeners are thinking, are you kidding me, veggies for breakfast? Like, I'm going to be hungry in like 15 minutes. No, you won't. You won't be hungry in 15 minutes. You might be hungry in 2 hours, right? Instead of 3 hours. And if that's the case, have some oatmeal or have something that's got a little bit more stodge to it, maybe a potato, or, you know what I mean? Like, listen to the body. But I try to get veggies in my brekkie at least 3 or 4 times a week, because I know then if they're in, it's like exercise first thing in the morning, veggies first thing in the morning, just get them done, right?
That's awesome. Chef AJ would be proud.
She's an awesome lady. I love her so much. Yeah, she's great.
She is.
Well, Terri Chrisman, thank you so much for joining us, and so lovely talking to you. We really had a good time.
And can you just let our listeners know where they can find you and your book?
Well, thank you so much, Justin and Stephanie. Yes. So my website is fabuloushealth.net. Easy to remember. I didn't buy fabuloushealth.com because they want $12,000 for that URL. So that can stay there. And the book is available on Amazon, but for people who are in America, I will sign you a copy if you buy the book from my website. So if you just go to the website, fabuloushealth.net, or I've actually got two websites, fabuloushealthbook.net, but let's not confuse people. And you buy it from the website, not Amazon, I will personally sign it for you and send it to you. Unfortunately, I do apologize to anybody who may be watching this from another country. I can't send it overseas, but definitely anybody in the States, I'll definitely sign it for you. And if I'm out at conferences or anything like that, I'll definitely sign books for you too. But otherwise, Amazon's the go.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Terri.
Thanks
We
for having
appreciate you.
Thank you for joining us on the NHA Today podcast. Subscribe and follow the National Health Association on YouTube and social media for the latest in plant-based science and healthy lifestyle support. For more resources, articles, and information about our membership and conference, visit healthscience.org. Until next time, here's to your plant-powered health.